Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm Jennifer and today I'm going to be reviewing one of my favorite movies of all time, The Empire Strikes Back. Hello everybody, I hope everybody is having an awesome day. Whenever you're watching this, I hope you're doing good and staying safe out there. And I'm really excited to be talking about this movie. I want to just start off by saying that this review will contain spoilers. I'm going to go really in depth and just spoil stuff. But this movie has probably been spoiled to you already, but if you do care about spoilers, which by all means please do care about spoilers, and then come back after you do, and I really do recommend watching this movie. So back in the day, about a year ago I would say, I started a Star Wars series on my channel, and do not watch those videos, they're very cringy. I wanted to review every single Star Wars movie leading up to Rise of Skywalker. I did not finish that because I did not know how to manage time, and I've only reviewed the prequels, but honestly I'm very happy I only reviewed the 3 prequels because I would have hated to review these really good movies and made such a bad video. Even though those videos are not the worst on my channel, I'll still link them down below and I'll add these to the playlist. I don't know if I'll ever re-review them because I feel like my thoughts still stand. I just had not the best way of expressing it, but anyway, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. Point being, I thought, hey, I should probably finish reviewing these movies because Star Wars is like one of my favorite movies just ever. Like just the whole franchise as a whole, and I'm gonna continue. And you're probably like, why haven't you continued with A New Hope? And it's because this is the last one I saw. I go to AMC theaters and they were playing a bunch of old movies for like really cheap, and I was like, the movie theater's empty and I get to see this movie on the big screen, so they were giving Empire and I went to see it and it was amazing. Like, it was the best experience ever. That's basically what's coming up. I'm gonna be continuing my Star Wars series, and this time I will also include the spin-off movies, so that should be a lot of fun. This was a very long intro, I'm very sorry, but let's just get right on to the review. The adventure continues in this Star Wars sequel. Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, and Chewbacca face attack by the Imperial forces on the ice planet Hoth. While Han and Leia escape in the Millennium Falcon, Luke travels to the Dagobah system in search of Yoda. Only with the Jedi Master's help will Luke survive when the dark side of the Force beckons him into the ultimate duel with Darth Vader. I just want to start off again by saying this is my favorite Star Wars movie ever, and I could argue that this is my favorite movie of all time. It just keeps switching between a few others, but every single time I watch it, the movie just gets better and better, and I've seen this movie more than 10 times, and I guarantee you every time I watch it I just have more fun than I did the last time. And this movie is really the movie that just made me love Star Wars, because I didn't really grow up with Star Wars. I started watching Star Wars May of 2018 to be exact, because I remember the movie Solo was coming out and I was like, fine, I guess it's time to finally watch this franchise that so many people love. And I saw A New Hope and I absolutely loved it, but I saw Empire and I remember it was like probably a third of the movie. I was just like, this is the best thing I've ever seen, and I haven't even finished it, and I was just having a blast the whole way through, and it honestly led me to just continue watching Star Wars because this movie really does a great job of developing what was established in the first one and just making it better and just making the stakes even higher. It's just amazing what they were able to do with this movie. And actually at the time of the release, sequels weren't really that big, and when sequels did happen they weren't really regarded well and they didn't really have a good stigma, and I think that's very ironic because this is considered one of the greatest sequels of all time, and I completely agree with that. I think it is one of the greatest sequels and one of the greatest movies ever made. And initially George Lucas didn't really have a thought about making a second movie, and it was because of the really big box office success that the 1977 original Star Wars had that they were like, hold up, like we can make something out of this, and it's because of the pop cultural phenomenon that it is today. But back onto my thoughts, I just love how this movie gets darker, and even though it gets darker it still continues having a bunch of funny elements. But the whole idea of getting darker, like even just at the very beginning, we're in this cold planet all isolated, and I loved the opening of this movie so much because I feel like you can pick out so many things from that opening itself. And with this opening we learn that the rebels are there in hiding, and we meet again Han, Leia, and Luke, and they're the same Han, Leia, and Luke we knew in the last one, but just upgraded and even better. And like I was saying that this movie's funnier, a lot of that honestly I give it to Han Solo.
Who's scruffy looking?
I love him. He's one of my favorite characters because he's just so funny, and it's just like Harrison Ford plays him so well, because if you guys are familiar with like Harrison Ford interviews, it literally low-key sounds like the same person, which I think is funny because Harrison Ford hates the character of Han Solo. It's just Han Solo is hilarious, and the way the lines were written were perfect, and the way he delivers them, and a lot of it is due to the banter between Han and Leia that starts right at the beginning in the hallway.
Come on, you want me to stay because of the way you feel about me?
Yes, you're a great help to us. You're a natural leader.
No, that's not it. Come on. Come on.
You're imagining things.
Am I? Then why are you following me? Afraid I was gonna leave without giving you a goodbye kiss?
I just assumed he's a Wookiee.
I can arrange that.
I love them so much because in A New Hope we got scenes with them, but for the majority of the movie it's them alone on this adventure. Sure, C-3PO is there, but they're like alone. Like Luke isn't there anymore, and we really get to see this like relationship develop, and in a way it feels very realistic because they're not a typical, oh, we're so romantic with each other. It's like, I hate you but I love you type situation, you know, enemies to lovers, except they were never really enemies. They just
12 seconds later.
I think you get what I mean. And I just want to say that in this movie, Han Solo is a badass and amazing. Like, we get a scene at the very beginning, Han going to go find Luke after he hasn't come back yet, and it's getting dark out, and it's, you know, it's very cold, harsh environment. And I just love that he went, even after one of the people there was telling them, like, hey, you shouldn't go out because, like, the Tauntaun? Is it a Tauntaun? Yes, I think it's a Tauntaun. Since the Tauntaun was gonna probably freeze to death, and Han Solo just like, okay, I don't care, I'm gonna end up going.
Cover section 12.
Your tauntaun will freeze before you reach the first marker. Then I'll see you in hell.
That just shows how much this trio cares for each other, and the reason why, in my opinion, this trio is the best trio out of any Star Wars movies, like the prequels and the sequels, is because they have such a good bond with each other in relationship, and you just feel very comfortable with them, if that makes any sense. Like, I love them so much, and each of them I love for a specific reason, but them three together is just amazing. That same exact scene when Carrie Fisher does an excellent job at showing expression in that scene of Leia just looking at the doors closing, knowing that her two best friends are out there and she can't do anything about it. And I just really quickly, talking about that, want to go to the theme of the movie because it basically deals with a lot of the ideas that the bad guys can sometimes win, and I think that's something very interesting to talk about in a movie because we're so used to our heroes, our protagonists winning, when in fact in this movie they lose multiple times. And it's not just something that they lose at the end, they lose a lot of things in this movie. By the end of it, what are they left with? They're left with trying to find Han again, and Luke is left with this idea that's haunting him, that his father is his enemy, and it's just a lot of different factors that I think this what makes this movie so much better, because throughout the movie you see them fail, but you don't really see them win as often in this one, I would say, and I think that's just very interesting. Like, for example, the Millennium Falcon is always broken in this movie. It barely works, and you kind of get to know the Falcon as a piece of garbage, like Luke said in A New Hope.
What a piece of junk.
I think just everything that they did with this movie was perfect. By having that idea of losing is so awesome because then it makes Return of the Jedi even better. And I just really quickly want to dabble on the acting, but specifically Mark Hamill, because I found a fact that I thought was very interesting. Mark Hamill had an accident in January of 1977, an automobile crash, and it caused him to have, you know, face surgery, and he had a bunch of scars. And George Lucas had planned what to do with the character of Luke now that he had these scars. And Mark Hamill actually said that George Lucas told him that if Mark Hamill had ended up dying in this car crash, he would have replaced the character of Luke with somebody else. And I just think that just shows how important Mark Hamill is to the character of Luke, because he's Luke. Like, that's it. One of the biggest problems I have with The Last Jedi, and when I ever do end up reviewing that movie, is that I feel like they lost the essence of Luke and they lost who Luke was. And even Mark Hamill has said it himself that, you know, he had some problems with that plot.
When I read 7, I said, I love everybody's part except mine. And on this one, it was similar in the sense that I said to Ryan, I'm so surprised how you see Luke.
But I just thought it was very interesting that George Lucas had even considered that, replacing the whole character of Luke, because he's irreplaceable. Like, he's just Mark Hamill, and Mark Hamill does an excellent job acting in this movie. We see Luke go through things he hasn't gone before. He's training for the first time, and he goes through one of the most heartbreaking things ever, finding out the person your enemy is, the person destroying your life, is your own father that you didn't even know, and you were basically lied to your whole life. And I just think it's crazy.
No. It's not true. That's impossible.
And I think Mark Hamill played him amazingly, and so did Carrie Fisher. I mean, Carrie Fisher's also Leia, Harrison Ford is Han. It's just these people that I don't see anybody else playing, and they do an amazing job the entire way through. This is so random, but you know, I think it's so funny that George Lucas basically made siblings kiss.
Well, I guess you don't know everything about women yet.
And he was like, I'm gonna make them kiss in that one scene, and I'm gonna be totally fine with it. It's weird, but I guess it also makes sense because it adds to the whole idea that Han is worried that that Leia is into Luke, because I feel like that whole bantering and conversation is really funny in Return of the Jedi. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. I just thought I should note that. Also, this movie continues having that amazing score, and it introduces one of my favorite themes, Darth Vader's The Imperial March. And this time the Empire gets a theme, the big bad guys get one, and this again just shows that the Empire is really striking back. Like, they're not playing any games, and it goes with what I was saying, that the bad guys win, and the stakes are just much higher, because in the first one, we were scared of Vader. You know, he was not the guy to deal with. We saw what he was capable of. But in this one, they have a theme, and they're coming hard, and that theme just slaps. Like, everybody knows it. Everybody in the entire planet knows the theme, and as they should, because it's like the greatest one ever made. Dun 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 dun. I'm probably gonna get copyrighted for that. Also, I love Vader's egg. Like, you know that little egg thing? And I like a shot that we get. One of his people are coming to talk to him, and we see like the back of his ugly, disgusting head. Okay, I need to talk to you guys about something, just because I want to show you this video, a little part of it. I'll link it down below because I think it's really awesome. But you know that scene at the very beginning with AT-AT walkers? So cool. A very well choreographed action sequence, and that goes for all the scenes in this movie. But that one specifically, I found out how it was made, and I was just blown away by how much effort it took. And I'm gonna play a little bit of the video. It's not the best quality because it was like from that time, but I'll link it down below in case you're gonna watch the 4-minute video. But isn't that so cool how they used stop motion, and it was like way smaller, but you know, in the screen it looks humongous. It just shows the magic of making movies and why I love movies so much, because wow, like, that's so crazy. And I just imagine people watching this in the 80s. I obviously did not watch this in the 80s, but if any of you guys know anybody that watched it in the 80s, I think that would just be so fascinating to see for the first time, and spectacular. Yeah, back to what I was saying. Everything is just well choreographed and perfectly paced. Like, they know when to cut something, they know when to start something. It's all perfectly, and has my attention the entire way through. And one of those scenes that just pops into my head is the asteroid scene, and because of the asteroid scene, I had a senior quote last year.
The probability of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
Yeah, my senior quote was, as Han Solo said, never tell me the odds. I think that's just an awesome line, and this scene is tense. It has everything it needs to keep me at the edge of my seat, because C-3PO was telling Han Solo, hey, we could die, and Han Solo is like, I'm gonna still do it. And it just shows so much what a great character Han Solo is. Like, I'm gonna keep saying that because I really love Han Solo. And what also makes it scarier is we get multiple shots of these asteroids, and we get the other spaceships blowing up into the asteroids, and we're like, oh my god, this is not looking so well. And then, since we do have the background that the Millennium Falcon is like not working that well, it just adds a lot of tension, and it's fantastic. And then when you think they won, they didn't, because they're in a space slug. Like, fantastic. Just fantastic writing and storytelling, and just things that I wouldn't have not even imagined, because I remember the first time I saw that, I was genuinely in shock. And at that same time, Luke is at the Dagobah system, and he's landing, and even when he landed, he, you know, didn't go so well, because his ship was like... And I want to just quickly note that I think they did a really good job of pacing and knowing how much of Luke to give us, how much of Han and Leia, because there's this an adventure at the same time and they're split for a lot of it. So I feel like it could be very easy to get lost in the narrative, in my opinion, but they did a perfect job with that. Like, I got enough Luke, enough Han and Leia. And I also want to say that I love what they did with Yoda. I think Yoda is also just a really great addition, and I didn't know that Yoda was like a reveal of the movie, because I think it's so cool to note that back in the day people were seeing this movie and were led to believe that Yoda would be different than what he is, a little small creature. And I just think that whole plot is amazing, and goes on to say another theme of like, don't judge something, you know, by its cover. Don't just judge something on its surface. And I think Yoda does a really good job at that, because when we first meet Yoda, he's playful, he's kind of silly. Luke is like, oh my god, this lunatic, and the whole time Yoda's playing with him like, okay, I'll take you to Master Yoda, when he finds out that he is Master Yoda. Him being so small and being able to do so much more, while Luke is over here like complaining and being like, I can't do anything. And Yoda is literally this small. This small. Look what he can do. He can lift an X-Wing. Luke, what can you do? I don't mean to offend you, Luke, but yeah, I just loved what they were able to do with that, and I feel like that's a very common theme in Star Wars, to not judge something. Like, it also just shows how strong the Force is, because look how much this little tiny guy can do with the Force. And if you guys have seen The Mandalorian, when Baby Yoda uses the Force, like, he's so tiny. And look how much he's able to do, so why can't you do that? And there's a really great sequence in the Dagobah system where Luke is fighting Vader, and when he kills him, Luke is inside Vader. It's a great imagery, and it's just great. And I think it's also very cool, because I think you can take it in a way, I don't know if it was intentional or maybe I'm just reaching, but I'll talk more about the plot twist when I get there. But what makes this plot twist so great, and even though I've known about it my whole life, is because when you rewatch the movie, you can see little moments and be like, oh, here is where there was a little bit of something, you know, like, could have given it away. Because in a way, he's fighting a part of him, you know, he's fighting blood. Like, this is his blood, he's fighting his father. And how could I review this movie without talking about Han and Leia's first kiss? I just simply can't. Because god damn it, it's amazing, it's perfect, it's really well timed, and the delivery is great, and then C-3PO interrupting, I just love it, and I just love it. And then in this movie, we're introduced to Palpatine, and we get him through some hologram, and I really like this scene, because this is the first time we see Vader obey somebody else, because from New Hope, the beginning of Empire, we're used to people obeying Vader and being scared of Vader, and you kind of get a sense of like respect for this man, this Palpatine, because he kneels to him. And I thought that was very interesting for them to do that, because we now know that he has a weakness, or I guess not more of a weakness, but like, he's not the highest one, there's somebody else worse than him. And obviously we later learn that Luke is his weakness, but I think that was just great, and yeah, really freaking awesome. There's also a line here that's like, oh, he might be the offspring of Anakin Skywalker. And again, like, when you rewatch that, you're like, I know Anakin was Darth Vader. I haven't even talked about how visually stunning this movie is. Like, not just even like the visuals, but the camera work, the directing, the cinematography is fantastic. And again, like, this movie was way ahead of its time, because it has aged very well, other than like George Lucas adding stuff, you know, for no reason. It looks great because it was mostly practical effects, because I'll always say it, practical is better than CGI. But anyway, I love Cloud City, my favorite place ever. I want to live in Cloud City. I also love all the outfits in Cloud City, which I haven't even mentioned Leia's outfits and hairdos, because they're great. I like the one in Cloud City, her little like thingy, like the braids, and I'll just put a picture. And I love Lando as a character as well, and we get to know that like he's not as trustworthy as we thought, but at the same time, he's not like the worst, because he's still trying to help them, but he has like deals to repay and, you know, a whole lot of stuff. And we also see Boba Fett, who, you know, is the one that like takes Han Solo to Jabba the Hutt. I want to talk about a scene, because when they first see Vader, like, they open the door and Vader's like at the end of the dining table. I love how Han immediately, before taking out his gun, like at the very same time, I think, he like holds Leia. And I didn't notice that detail until probably very recently, because I mean, she probably talked to him about all the stuff that Vader did to her, and that just must have sucked. I feel so bad for them. And then Han Solo gets frozen in carbonite, and he also gets like tortured, and like they put a chair thingy, and like poor Han, like, this is what I was saying, poor thing, and then he, like, you know, is not doing so well, and then we get my favorite scene in the whole movie.
I love you.
I know.
One of the most iconic, the I love you, I know scene. And I think it's so great because that line wasn't even scripted. Like, Harrison Ford came up with it, and for that I will be eternally grateful for you, sir. It's great. Like, it completely encompasses their relationship, and it has so many emotions, like when their theme is playing, which I think that score is beautiful, one of my favorites as well. And, you know, the orange lights and being brought down, and Leia's just looking, and, like, again, Carrie Fisher is such a great actress by just acting with her face. Like, she doesn't have to say anything, but we understand perfectly what she's feeling. It's just my emotions just fall all of the time. And that's a perfect scene. That is like the most perfect scene. And at this point in the movie, you're like, dude, how are they gonna get out of this? And technically they don't, because yeah, you know, they save Luke after and they give him a new little hand. But like, things end really badly in this movie for our heroes, and that's just awesome. Like, it just makes for an awesome anticipation for Return of the Jedi, because we get the best plot twist of all time.
He told me you killed him.
No. I am your father.
Holy crap, you're the dad? Like I said, it's a perfect twist because it makes sense, because and you see little moments and you're like, holy crap, like that's the father. I don't even know what else to say about it other than it's great. And the fact that Luke is willing to die rather than be with his father, because he says, like, if you join me, come to the dark side, we really can see how loyal Luke is to his good side. And it's just fantastic because he could have easily, to spare his life, gone with Vader, but he doesn't want to do that, and that just shows how great of a hero and a lead character Luke Skywalker really is. And then I really like that moment when he's basically about to die, like he's dangling off, Vader cut off his hand, he's like hopeless, he's in the worst state he's ever been, and Leia comes to his rescue. And I just think it's so cute that she was able to sense that there was something wrong with him, and the movie ends. It ends in a beautiful landscape of them looking. Lando is on his way to find Han Solo, and there you have it. We have the best movie, in my opinion, of all time. This is an amazing movie, like you clearly have heard me talk about, so I will for sure be giving this movie an A+. If you haven't seen this movie still, I hope this video convinced you to watch it. My camera storage got full because I've been talking here for so long. So I need to wrap this up. Anyway, like I was saying, thank you guys so much for watching. I will be back to watching Star Wars. I'm probably gonna watch A New Hope this week and get that review up for you guys after. And I'm just excited, and then after I can do a big ranking about it. But my Star Wars reviews are up. I think I've done 4 of them because I also reviewed Rise of Skywalker. But boy, have my thoughts changed about that movie. And yeah, I'll make sure to see you guys next time. If you're new here, please make sure to subscribe. I post Mondays and Fridays and sometimes some bonus videos. And if you guys want to support my art, then please go ahead and follow me over on my Instagram at Jennifer V Art, and my letterbox, which is just at Jennifer Vega, where I basically review every single movie that I watch. So it's a lot of fun. I've been having a lot of fun on that app. So if you guys have a letterbox, just comment it down below and I'll be sure to follow you guys back. But yeah, thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys!